Hari Om. Welcome to the Pravachana Malika talk number 39. Today's talk is on chemistry of, for, and by the Veda. So we're very excited to welcome Dr. Balaram Singh. He is a professor at University of Massachusetts, Dartmouth, in the Institute of Advanced Sciences. He's the editor-in-chief of the Vedic Waves USA. And today we have a very interesting program. We'll have the Kusumanjali, Sangeetanjali, and then my father, Dr. Prabhakar, will introduce the speaker, and we have Dr. Bodupalli Raghava, who's a scientist who will give the concluding remarks, and I will give a vote of thanks. So with that, Shivalinga, please, if you can start the Veda Kusumanjali.
Om Sri Gurubhyo Namah Hari Om Bhadram Karnebhi Srunuyama Deva Bhadram Pashe Makshabhiryajatra Tirairangai Stustavaham Sastanabhi Vyasema Deva Itai Yadayo Swastina Indra Vruddhashava स्वस्ति न पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्ताक्षो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति न बृहस्पतिर्ददातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ अग्ने नय सुपताराये अस्मान् विश्वानि देववयुनानि विद्वान् युजोद्यस्मज्जुहुरानमेन भो इष्टान्ते नम भुक्तिं विदेम ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ आब्रह्मन् ब्राह्मणो ब्रह्मवर्चसि जायताम् आराष्ट्रे राजन्यः शूरैषभ्यो अतिव्याधि महारथो जायताम् दोग्ध्रीं धेनुर्वोढान्नड्वान् आसु सप्तिः पुरन्धिर्योषा जिष्णारतेस्थः सभेयो युवा अस्य यजमानस्य वीरो जायताम् निकामे निकामेन पर्जन्यो न वर्षतु फलवत्यो न भोषदयः पच्यन्तां योगक्षेमो न कल्पेताम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणचक्षुः स्तोत्रमतो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वो ब्रह्मोपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोतु अनिराकरणम् अस्तु अनिराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्माः ते मयि सन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ पूर्णमद पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरि ओम नमस्ते.
Thank you very much, Shivalinga. So now I'll play a song in flute. This is a very auspicious occasion. We just had Deepavali. This is a song on Lakshmi.
Dr. Prasad, you are
mute him.
It is on mute, I think.
Oh, I think live flute, the Zoom may not take it. So I'll just sing the song. It's okay. That's the occasion. Yeah, I think the frequency of the flute is not good for the Zoom. I probably record it. I never done it live, so it's good. Thank you. भाग्याद लक्ष्मी पारम्मा नम्मनि सौभाग्याद लक्ष्मी पारम्मा ಹೆಜ್ಜೆಯ ಮೇಲೆ ಹೆಜ್ಜೆಯ ನಿಕ್ಕುತ ಗೆಜ್ಜೆ ಕಾಲ್ಗಳ ನಾದವ ತೋರುತ ಹೆಜ್ಜೆಯ ಮೇಲೆ ಹೆಜ್ಜೆಯ ನಿಕ್ಕುತ ಗೆಜ್ಜೆ ಕಾಲ್ಗಳ ನಾದವ ತೋರುತ ಸಜ್ಜನ ಸಾಧು ಪೂಜೆಯ ವೇಳೆಗೆ ಮಜ್ಜಿಗೆಯೊಳಗಿನ ಬೆಣ್ಣೆಯಂತೆ ಭಾಗ್ಯದ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ಬಾರಮ್ಮ ನಮ್ಮಮ್ಮನಿ ಸೌಭಾಗ್ಯದ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ಬಾರಮ್ಮ ಕನಕ ವೃಷ್ಟಿಯ ಕರೆಯುತ್ತ ಬಾರೆ ಮನಕ್ಕೆ ಕಾರ್ಯ ಸಿದ್ಧಿಯ ತೋರೆ ಕನಕ ವೃಷ್ಟಿಯ ಕರೆಯುತ್ತ ಬಾರೆ ಮನಕ ಮನೆಯ ಸಿದ್ಧಿಯ ತೋರೆ ದಿನಕರ ಕೋಟಿ ತೇಜದಿ ಹೊಳೆವ ಜನಕರಾಯನ ಕುಮಾರಿ ವೇದ ಭಾಗ್ಯದ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ಬಾರಮ್ಮ ನಮ್ಮಮ್ಮನಿ ಸೌಭಾಗ್ಯದ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ಬಾರಮ್ಮ ಅತ್ತಿತ್ತಗಳದ ಭಕ್ತರ ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಿತ್ಯ ಮಹೋತ್ಸವ ನಿತ್ಯ ಸುಮಂಗಳ ಅತ್ತಿತ್ತಗಳದೆ ಭಕ್ತರ ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಿತ್ಯ ಮಹೋತ್ಸವ ನಿತ್ಯ ಸುಮಂಗಳ ಸತ್ಯವ ತೋರುವ ಸಾಧು ಸಜ್ಜನರ ಚಿತ್ತದಿ ಹೊಳೆವ ಪುತ್ತಲಿ ಬೊಂಬೆ ಭಾಗ್ಯದ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ಬಾರಮ್ಮ ನಮ್ಮಮ್ಮನಿ ಸೌಭಾಗ್ಯದ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ಬಾರಮ್ಮ ಸಂಖ್ಯೆಯಿಲ್ಲದ ಭಾಗ್ಯವ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಕನಕ ಕೈಯ ತಿರುವುತ ಬಾರೆ ಸಂಖ್ಯೆಯಿಲ್ಲದ ಭಾಗ್ಯವ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಕನಕ ಕೈಯ ತಿರುವುತ ಬಾರೆ ಕುಂಕುಮಾಂಕಿತೆ ಪಂಕಜಲೋಚನೆ ವೆಂಕಟರಮಣನ ಬಿಂಕದ ರಾಣಿ ಭಾಗ್ಯದ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ಬಾರಮ್ಮ ನಮ್ಮಮ್ಮನಿ ಸೌಭಾಗ್ಯದ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ಬಾರಮ್ಮ ಸಕ್ಕರೆ ತುಪ್ಪ ಹಾಲು ಬೆಹರಿಸಿ ಶುಕ್ರವಾರದ ಪೂಜೆಯ ವೇಳೆಗೆ ಸಕ್ಕರೆ ತುಪ್ಪದ ಹಾಲು ಬೆಹರಿಸಿ ಶುಕ್ರವಾರದ ಪೂಜೆಯ ವೇಳೆಗೆ ಅಕ್ಕರೆಯುಳ್ಳ ಅಲಗಿರಿ ರಂಗನ ಚೊಕ್ಕ ಪುರಂದರ ವಿಠಲನ ರಾಣಿ ಭಾಗ್ಯದ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ಬಾರಮ್ಮ ನಮ್ಮಮ್ಮನಿ ಸೌಭಾಗ್ಯದ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ಬಾರಮ್ಮ ನಮ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ಬಾರಮ್ಮ ನಮ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ಬಾರಮ್ಮ. All right, thank you so much. We'll have my father, Dr. Prabhakar, now introduce this.
So beautiful song from Purandaradasa, inviting Lakshmi to come out to our portals. And thank you very much. And also to Sivalingaya, who just prayed our Kendra prayer and invited and asked for blessings from all gods like Agni, Brahaspati, and Pushan, and Tarshi, and all that. So today we are having a wonderful talk and very informative. As we all know that chemistry of, for, and by chemistry, by Veda. And actually, when we attended the international conference at Orlando, in his own speech, suddenly he said, we can talk on chemistry also. So I got that idea from Dr. Balaram Singh itself. So I thought, how not we know what chemistry we can gather from our Vedic mantras or Vedic field. And that's a matter of curious innovation in the present field that people are all beating on the mythology, religion, philosophy, etc. But also because our Balaram Singh ji is the director of the Advanced Vedic Institute of Advanced Vedic Sciences in USA, and he has been having a rich experience in chemistry and in almost all the subjects. He's all-round person. Because he's a Balarama and Krishna, they are found any and everywhere, very friendly. And and sometimes Krishna has to manage Balarama also to be able to send him away to Tirtha Yatra so that the Mahabharata war can be peaceful according to his own manner. But Balarama returned just when Duryodhana fell down. and he wanted to quarrel with Bhima and all people. Again, Krishna has got something to console Balaram and says, the entire war is only cheating, deceit. Nobody is truthful in the Mahabharata war. Anyway, so chemistry, already we have got one beautiful article, the chemistry of the, or chemical reaction of the ahutis offered in the Vedi, when we do sacrifices. And that was by our Venkatrama Shastri, a retired physics professor, guru of all of us, at the same time to our Buddhapalli Raghava, who has joined here. And so he's a good Vedic scholar, but he wrote on chemistry because every ahuti we offer to the gods is made tasty by offering ghee. And Agni is there, and this ghee or clarified butter is there. The pudding is very tasty, so the gods don't allow any remnants. And sarva ahuti huta bhaveyuho. So that is the acceptance of all gods and all that. And not my talking much, because my chemistry knowledge is only pre-university. But here we have got a professor to talk about it. We just learned chemistry in the PUC. Of course, I was not in my BSc honors, I was not a chemistry student, mathematics. So anyway, today we are more anxious to note few ideas, because we only think of Veda mantra and gods and prayers and also descriptions and all that. But the chemistry is very important because it is able to give us a lot of benefit. The ahutis, there is chemistry in the offerings or oblations we make, and in order to get benefits from the various kinds of ahutis or the havana dravyas we use, and because of that, by the gods who are pleased, the moment we call the god Agnaye Swaha, he will pocket that into him. Chandraya Swaha, he will immediately deliver to the doors of Chandra. So all this kind of postman work is being done by all the gods, Agni. So Agni Mukhavai Deva. So we can think of all these things, but we want to know a modern approach towards the Vedic mantras. That is really interesting. And Raghava is working in that direction, and Anjaneya Prasad is also working. We have got two scientists also with us. Last time in some conference, Dr. Anjaneya Prasad presented the Shankara Stotra, Nirvana Shatkam, 6 mantras, but he made a wonderful scientific presentation of that. So like that, so we have to focus our modern light, scientific light and etc. into that. So not my talking much, I request Dr. Balaram Singh ji. He's a well-known figure in the world of Vedic studies and in the World Association for Vedic Studies, in his own department, in his subject. And moreover, he has got a good humor in him. That's what we'll be going to see that. Because see, actually to talk scientific subjects, one cannot be grim and simply business-like. But here and there, if you add some humor about this, chemistry is also humor and physics is also humor. We just start wondering that, looking at the chemical reactions and also at the arrangement of the physical things, because physics and chemistry are the only two things in all houses. Drawing hall is physics and kitchen is chemistry. Yes, sir, please. Thank you very much. Welcome to you, Dr.
Thank
Balaram
you.
Singh.
Thank you so much. I appreciate very much to give me this chance to express my views. I hope I don't disappoint you, because my chemistry is, I've tried to mellow it down, knowing that the audience might be not exactly hardcore chemist, although I think, if I remember correctly, even though you said that you were not chemistry students, but nevertheless, you are good at chemistry. So I'm going to start. Is it okay if I share my slide?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it should be
is that
able to
okay?
share it. Yes, yes. Should be
Yeah.
able to share it.
I just want to show you the number of presentations I have that has chemistry, lot of chemistry. So I have so many aspects of chemistry, and we can certainly discuss those aspects, but I think today I'm going to discuss the chemistry of, for, and by Vedas. Veda, I am taking very generic term here. Yeah, I want to, sorry, give me 1 second. Oh yeah, I think I already have it, okay. Veda, I'm taking already this knowledge, but this knowledge, the knowledge of Veda has its own standard. It is a very standard knowledge that I think people can easily trust, test, and practice. Now I see Professor Prabhakar has a clock behind him that seems to be reflecting American time. And so kind of you. So I'm assuming that I have what?
Yeah.
40,
You can,
45
now
minutes.
Go on with full speed and full length. Sampurna pravachanam
All
astu.
All right. So yeah, I'm associated with many things. It's true, and that kind of gives me knowledge because I learn from others. But what I wanted to say about chemistry, why we chose chemistry, and I always talk about chemistry, in a scientific field, American Chemical Society in America considers chemistry as a central science. So there may be, there obviously Professor Prabhakar neglected biology because of that we are really working here because of the biology. So that we have biology very important, but chemistry is the central science and is connected to everything, as you can see here. This is just from a textbook. And it says here at the bottom, it says future problems. So all the future problems also can be addressed by chemistry. You always hear about chemistry between two people to be very good. Sometimes actors, sometimes students, and sometimes researchers, colleagues. People say, but they never say there's a good physics between two people. Physics means, beating each other. But chemistry is something that you can react and connect with people. So this is very important field, in my opinion. In terms of Veda, it's many times people think it's a religious or a spiritual knowledge. So there are other people who have delved into this idea. Here is the physics of Christianity by Professor Tipler. And Galileo was very much, we all know the history, he confronted spirituality or religious beliefs at that time. So was Sir Isaac Newton, believe it or not. Actually, he had written so much, 3 boxes of books written by Newton, and only 1 box was ever opened. Other boxes are still sitting somewhere. One of them is in Egypt, another one is in London. They have not even opened what he has written about religious or spiritual things. And many times people think that even his Newton's 3 laws actually were already in the Vaisesika philosophy. That some sutras are already written. How he got it, that's a different issue. But nevertheless, there have been a lot of interaction between Vedas and everything. This guy is Francis Collins. He's I think just retired director of National Institute of Health, which is the biggest organization for funding research in health-related sciences and even basic science. And he's writing about the scientist presents evidence for belief, the language of God. So this is always had been enigmatic. The scientists are always looking for it. We are all scientists in some way. And here are 2 other examples of Nobel winners who talk about something related to Vedas or India. Here is the Erwin Schrödinger, who got Physics Nobel Prize in, I believe, in 1939 or so. And he writes, many conscious egos from whose mental experiences the one world is concocted. There is obviously only one alternative, namely the unification of minds or consciousness. Their multiplicity is only apparent. In truth, there is only one mind. This is the doctrine of Upanishads. That he writes in his book, What is Life? And not only Upanishads, the mystically experienced union with God regularly entails the attitude unless it is opposed by strong existing prejudices. And this means that it is less easily accepted in the West than in the East. So this is the introduction of Vedas, how the the hardcore scientists, top of their field, are the one who talk about it. Now this other guy, Francis Crick, who got Nobel Prize for chemistry, he writes, the scientific belief is that our minds, the behavior of our brains, can be explained by the interactions of nerve cells and the molecules associated within them. The idea of soul, distinct from the body and not subject to our known scientific laws, is a myth. It is easy to see how such myths could have arisen. Indeed, without the detailed knowledge of the nature of matter and radiation and biological evolution, such myths appear only too plausible. I did not put another paragraph. He wrote that, it's the time that the Hindus, he actually writes in his book, it is the time that Hindus inflate in millions and millions of years, it's just all myths. And of course not, this he wrote sometimes in 60s, he got Nobel Prize in 1962, I believe. And he delved into neuroscience after that. So there you can just see how different kind of views scientists have. And then you have Eko Aham Bahushyami. That means, the only one truth can be spoken differently at different times, but by different people, just giving different perspective. And that is also Vedic. It's not like, it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to be Ravan and be wrong and be killed and teach a lesson. That's also okay, because he was a very Vedic, he was a knowledgeable person. So I had one time, maybe it's like 15 years ago, I gave a talk on Mahatma Gandhi's chemistry of Satya and Ahimsa for conflict resolution. So because chemistry is a term that people can understand. Once it's like maybe 25 years ago, I went to a grocery store here, and those days we didn't use credit cards. We used to use a check, write a check, and then the clerk will check your ID. So when I gave her my ID, she saw that I am a professor at chemistry and professor at the University of Massachusetts. So she asked me, what do you teach? I said, chemistry. And she says, oh, I was very bad, just like Professor Pravachana was saying. It was not my field. Actually, he limited himself to say that. But she said, oh my God, I was very bad at chemistry. I said, if you are bad at chemistry, you would be dead by now. You have to be good at chemistry. You may not know it. That's a separate issue. But everybody who is alive is good at chemistry. And sometimes chemistry is used to fix you in case you have problems through medicine. So chemistry is such a thing that can be used for anything and everything. Here is I think this is the only time I'm going to really show you something very chemically here. Chemistry concepts. One of the concept is reversibility and equilibrium. At least in equilibrium, when things are, both sides are kind of fixed, that's when called equilibrium. It can only happen by reversibility. So the meanings also can be reversible. That's what I'm trying to say here. So yes, there's so many reactions, and they can be reversible, and they can reach an equilibrium depending on how much time you give to that. And the second concept here I want to explore is atoms retain their individuality. So even though they become something else, but each atom retains its individuality. Now the word atom comes from Atma. The same meaning, can never be destroyed, cannot be created. Atom remains as it is. So the Atma is also in the same sense. Now in science, empirical observation, objectivity, practical and testable pursuit of truth, suffering cheerfully endured, like we were talking, we can sometimes having fun is also chemistry. Ceases to be suffering and is transmuted into an effable joy. This is what Mahatma Gandhi said. So in a sense, you can just see that he was, at least from his internal perspective, maybe atmic perspective, he was talking about science. And here is the example. Here is the example of diamond, which is very expensive and very stable also. These are all only made of carbons, There's nothing, no other atom in it. the different forms. And now they have actually even a ball, 60 carbon ball. They call it buckyball. And it has so many good uses of it. The diamond is very expensive, but they can be rearranged in different ways. So when we are talking about carbon, it depends on in what context. So the carbon can be in very different contexts. Carbon can also be part of the carbon monoxide that will kill you. That also is. So chemistry is something that is really connected in many ways, and it's very good model to understand, particularly Vedic knowledge, because there are so many deeper meanings in the Vedas that people, when they look at, like when this Francis Crick was looking at it, he would say, no, we can explain everything through the molecules. But it's deeper and deeper and deeper. When you're talking about aparavidya and paravidya, then there is a very different connotations that you have to bring it. Now, the one example is the satyam or the truth. So says satyam bruyat, priyam bruyat, na bruyat, satyam apriyam. I'm just, only if you take this first line, many times people say speak truth in such a way that it should be pleasing to others. But many times people say, for example, never speak truth, which is unpleasant to others, which means that sometimes they think that it's okay to lie because this is unpleasant to others. That's not what it is. The meaning is that you find a way to speak the truth, even though it may be unpleasant, so that it looks good. It's like, when a teacher or guru talks to a student, even though maybe guru does some chiding of the student. Actually, I was one of those students in my life that I got into trouble with teachers all the time. So, but I learned from that. Every time it was never resentment, of any kind. I think I'm really whatever I am today, mostly because the gurus who gave me hard time, not the one who gave me easy time. And I'm sure we all can believe that that's true in almost everybody's life. So here is definition of dharma. Ahimsa paramo dharma. It says the non-violence is the greatest virtue. But then there is somebody adds this, dharmam hinsa tathayucha. This is addition. This is not original one, but it looks good. You say for dharma, if you have to do violence, it's okay. Now it is attributed to be said by Yudhishthira in Mahabharata. But he's the guy who was, if he's saying like that, he's the guy who was carrying spears and arrows and fighting the war. So how that means he didn't mean that. It meant something else. And we are many times I see people quoting this dharmam hinsa tathayucha. It's like they want to be violent, and so they just want to, for the dharma. The meaning can be different. The meaning could be, and I have the meaning of the ahimsa, what it is. What is ahimsa? It's part of your yama in yoga. In Patanjali Yoga Sutra, it talks about yama. Part of yama is ahimsa, satyaste, brahmacharya, aparigraha. So, if it is part of yoga, you have to practice it. You cannot violate it. So I have come up with a in terms of the equilibrium. First of all, this is not right. The quotation, right quotation is this: ahimsa paramo dharma, sacha satya pratisthata. Ahimsa paramo dharma, sacha satya pratisthata. Satya kritva pratistham tu pravartante pravrittaya. So it basically saying the truth establishes only the truth. What does establish? Ahimsa paramo dharma. Ahimsa paramo dharma means ahimsa does not mean non-violence. Actually, even Gandhi didn't say that. Gandhi actually said many times that if it comes to violence versus dishonor, he will choose the violence. So even he didn't say, he was knowledgeable. I mean, this is like very old, and it comes from Vedas. Satya and ahimsa, it comes from Vedas. So what ahimsa means, I'm just using that equilibrium concept here. Ahimsa paramo dharma, I'm just define not dharma, but dharma define ahimsa. So I can turn it around and say the greatest dharma is that cannot be violated, not violence. The greatest dharma cannot be violated, because if it is truth, he cannot be violated. So you can just see in Mahabharata Ban Parv, it says very different. So chemistry concept helps understand some of these things. Now, another belief is that this is science, published in 2009. Believers' estimates of God beliefs are more egocentric than estimates of other people's belief. This is published in Proceedings of National Academy of Sciences, very prestigious journal. The experiment they did is that they were saying that there are certain values, excuse me, that we live with, and then those are the virtues. So the question was asked to average American, to find out what they consider on those virtues versus what a typical American thinks. I think, what a typical American thinks. Now, this is not, you're not asking question, you are recording their brain functions. So the brain function was that if he shows these two spots, that means you have differences. So they think that what you think about these virtues, morals, and a typical American, they think that's different. That's not the same. When they said what God thinks and what American thinks, even more difference, is a higher intensity. But when they said what you think and what God thinks, no difference. This is the chemical reaction to these things that shows in the brain of how you decide what you decide. And now that means there is no difference between me and God. And isn't that the concept of Aham Brahmasmi? So you can just see that even science, and I'm talking about the American, not Indians, they didn't know about Aham Brahmasmi, but their brain thinks like that. So you have that kind of record of what is the truth. So the approaching mind, they have a chemistry of mind. I did teach a class called Chemistry of Mind course, actually in the university, chemistry department for graduate students. Then you have this, I got inspiration from yoga and, some of the interaction with people like your team and Waves people. And then I got some yoga experience, and then I decided do that. Scholarships to bridge consciousness physico-chemically. So Vaishishkai School of Thought, I will try to do a little bit of that. And then advancement of scientific concept, I also got opportunity, which is today is known as artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is just a feedback mechanism. I did that for my chemistry research, and where you create a database, which is like, let's say, book, Vedas, and then you take it to people who get education about that, and they make a decision of this is right, that is right, wrong. And then over a period of time, in case of Vedas, because they go through iterations after iterations, unlike today, where somebody just quotes Vedas. The people really did the experiments, and then they confronted other colleagues, whether it's Shastrartha or the students will ask questions to their teachers as in Upanishads. And so they continuously refined it. And that process must go on. It is a very chemical in terms of practice. So what is science? So currently, it's defined as systematic. This is like a middle school definition. Systematic study of a topic, subject, or problem which provides consistent results. If it doesn't provide consistent results, it's not science. Scientific truths, according to Newton, says non-falsifiable explanation of empirical and theoretical data, which means you should try to falsify your own concept. It's not like, well, I said so, everybody has to agree with that. That's not like that, which is what religions do. Where they just, God said something, everybody has to believe. No, that's not, because you are Aham Brahmasmi. Eko Aham Bhaushyami. This is the concept of Vedas. So you can always question anything. I used to write only objective science, but subjective science, I learned when I visited Maharishi Mahesh Yogi's university in Iowa. And I went to their high school class, and they were saying, because we always thought that science has to be objective. No. It can be subjective as long as you are not biased. So there is a training for being unbiased. which is yoga. If you do yoga and then be subjective, no problems at all. Actually, that's a better, because current science is only, including chemistry, is only based on n number of molecules or atoms or something, and we consider all of them to be the same. None of our here are all Indians. We're interested in Veda, but they don't. None of us look the same. Our knowledge is different. Our background is different. So it is very important for us to appreciate the fact that we are different. And Veda that says, Eko aham bahusyami. That means that there are several ways to present that. You don't need to make everybody equal. At the surface level, at the body level, or the practice level, or really experience level, they all can eventually get there if they pursue. And that's what the science is supposed to be. So, I mean, this is just one example. I think you all understand. I don't need to, because there is a weightage against everybody. 1 + 1 is 2 in mathematics, but not in chemistry. In chemistry, it would be 1 carbon, 2 oxygen makes 1 carbon dioxide. So it should be 1 + 2, it should be 3, but actually it is only 1. So there is you need to understand what you're talking about, not just, make it to everybody. So this can be done only by people who are knowledgeable. Now, another physicist says, even for a physicist, the description in plain language will be criterion. This is written by Werner Heisenberg, who also got a Nobel Prize. Degree of understanding that has been reached. You have, even for physicists, the description in plain language will be a criterion of the degree of understanding that one. So when somebody says something, I know that you know. So when I'm saying something, that you understand what I'm trying to say, rather than I speak the same thing to something about a child talk. And one of my children, my second daughter, she was putting on some dress, nice. It was like maybe 5, 6 year old. And I said, "Oh, how lovely. I wish I had that." And you know what she says? She says, "Dad, when you grow up, you will fit into this." Because she thought that only you fit when you grow up. She didn't know I cannot grow up to be like that. So, this is that's very different. But now I use that, believe it or not. At that time, I just laughed and I said, what a funny thing. But now I use that in the whole world, rest of the world, including especially Europeans. They think that whole civilization are in invasion theory type people, that the whole civilization came from the West, when they are really much younger to the Indian civilization, but they think that we will fit into there. Someday we will fit in there, which is like a very childish to me. So, you can learn from your children also. Here is another example of the Heisenberg. There is a philosopher who writes that, physics and philosophy, how they are connected. The instruments of modern science derive from its theory and require a comprehension of that theory, means the thinking, for their correct use. The theory rests on philosophical as well as physical. So like I said, 1 + 1 is what? You have to think that. But then they are saying here very clearly, when comprehended, these philosophical assumptions generate a personal and social mentality and behavior quite different from, and then they point out who. The points incompatible with the family, caste, and tribally centered mentality of native Asians, Middle Eastern, or African people. That is very derogatory, that they will not be able to get it, because I have created an understanding. So just like my daughter had an understanding, I will grow up to fit into her dress. That's what if they have the understanding, they think, well, obviously they will not understand this. So science, what it means, what you observe, what you measure is very different than what it really, you have to make sense out of it. About chemistry is a central science. I said, besides various things, atom is indivisible, which is the same thing as Atma. In Vaisesika, we have Anu, which Vaisesika talks very much earlier. Even like I said, the 3 laws of Newton's laws of motions, they're already written in this Vaisesika, a long time before Newton came. How did he come to know? We don't know that. But there are many things we can present today in the language that they understand, which is the chemistry, for example. Now, chemistry people, chemistry is a study of matter. The closest we come to matter is substance, which is in Vaisesika philosophy, which comes from dharma. Dharma is the one who determines what it means. You have to have the meaning of it. And then it has quality, and it has an karma or action, and it has this genus, a community, or they call it samanya, which is like anybody else. And then there is a visesa, which is specific. And then there are certain things cannot be separated from that if they want to have the quality. And then there are certain things you have to take them away. Otherwise, they will also change. So this is the padarthas. Padartha is like matter. It's only I say like because matter is defined as something that takes space and has a mass. That is matter's definition in chemistry is something has space and it occupies space and it has some weight or mass. But then all other things will also come with it, even though they don't recognize that. Here it is, we have now 118 elements. But here is the substance, dravya is defined here. Panchabhutas, then it also talks about time, space, self, Atman in it, and mind. This is all integrated. All integrated because if you change one of them, if you change your mind, it changes the dravya. And the dravya changes is everything else, quality and action and all this other stuff. It's a very integrative. The chemistry doesn't have that. They're trying to get through artificial intelligence now. This year they got Nobel Prize using artificial intelligence, which I'm working on it to try to see that they will never get it. Because when we are talking about Anant, the Bhav, Brahma is Anant. They will never get it. But they're going to convince you and I, because many people already convinced that artificial intelligence is the best. Because it tells you everything without any effort. But that's not how it's going to work. So here is an example of my research in chemistry to see whether this principle of dravya works. Because this is the question I always used to be asked, and I didn't have an answer. From modern chemistry, I didn't have an answer. So I'm going to focus on, in this case, on the space. How much space you are given, your behavior changes. So in this case, I worked with botulinum toxin. Oops. I think something is missing here. I'm sorry. It's botulinum neurotoxin. It acts to make people look younger because they remove the wrinkles. But also it can send you to the emergency on the ventilator. It's so toxic. 100 picogram, it can make your face look better. 100 nanogram is still 1 billion times less than a gram. 1 billion times less than a gram. And that can make you sick. And what is the difference? Space. When you have less number and same volume, you have more space. When you have more number and the same volume, you have less space. So space changes its quality from a therapeutic to a toxin or poison. Now, I just try to show here somebody sitting in an office very comfortably, one person. Here is the crowded. And you don't know if you have to get an opportunity to go, which one you will go to this one, because this is going to be more pleasant. Now, this is true. This is a principle. This is not just one molecule that I work with, but it is principle because some teacher ate half a kg salt. Salt is needed, about 10 grams every day. We need it. But if you have 500 grams, there's only just 50 times more, kills you. Here we are talking about 1,000-fold difference. Picogram and nanogram is 1,000-fold difference. So if you use 1,000-fold more, it kills you. So the basic ideas of, the basic function, I wouldn't delve too much into this, but this toxin works on nerves and muscles. It paralyzes. But the principle works even there at the nerves, that if you have 1,000 times less, and that 1,000 times has to be a billionth of a gram to begin with. It's not like, we can have a gram and we can have 10 grams. It's not like that. It's not like the salt. It's very, very, very toxic substance. So, but what I'm saying is that this principle applies on our nerves, in our body, Professor Prabhakar. So biology is also affected by all these principles, not just chemistry and physics. Now, just to give you the sense of it, this is botulinum toxin that I was talking about. Number one toxin. Here is cyanide. Though that we know cyanide is a poison. 100 billion times less toxic. If you look at the cobra toxin, here is 5 million times less toxic. So we are afraid. I'm from a village in India. We used to be always afraid of cobras. If we see cobra, we need to only the thing we could do is kill it right away. I also killed several cobras. Now here is an example. If somebody this is a biothreat agent. When somebody releases it in the airplane, how much it can be? If somebody releases 100 milligrams, not grams, 100 milligrams, 0.1 gram. In the airplane, everybody will be dead in about 2 minutes. It's so toxic, but its behavior can be predicted. When people used to ask me this question in like 90s, I didn't know the answers. Only when I got exposed, it's about maybe near about maybe 2000. Somebody, maybe Professor Pravachana knows this Professor T.S. Rukmini, and probably she lives in Bengaluru. I asked her, I became the director of it. I needed to know something. So she asked me, if you want to study something about chemistry, study by Sesika. And that's when I got the answer to this. So there is what is that consciousness? How do we think about these things? How do we feel about these things? We have ideas in our brain. We have ideas in physics. We have ideas in chemistry. I'm not going to belabor this point, but just wanted to give idea. You have to make some assumptions. So I made assumptions. Consciousness is all pervasive. Expression of consciousness can be represented by vibration, because I need to use for chemistry and physics. Different things may have different frequencies of vibrations. And some of this is really related to karma theory. I tried to make a science out of this consciousness, and then did some calculations. The origin of this vibration comes from Vedas. It comes from Rig Veda, actually. Anida Vatam, without vibration, as described in the hands of the creation, Nasadya Suktam. There was neither non-existent nor existent. You don't even know what it was, because you don't even know that there was none. That's when it says that one thing breathes by its own nature. When it has the word they use, desire or kamana, to be part of creation, then it starts breathing, and they call it spandan or oscillation. And I use that oscillation idea into making it a vibrational stuff, where I could now have the amplitude and time. So I created a model like that, and then I created equation in which again, this is another one of my children I learned. I had a seminar in science of spirituality, and my son, we used to do this. We used to have a Sangh Nad. So my children used to do that. So he came to do the Sangh Nad, but that day his mother was not around, so he had to stay for the whole conference, because only when I finish, then I will take him. So he sat down, was only heard, and when I went home the next day, he tells me, Dad, you all were talking about Brahma's one day, and then how many billion years for us? He said Brahma is at the center, so he has to walk very little around. And we are because those people who are knowledge, they are kind of at the center, they know everything. They don't need to think too much. We are away from the knowledge, so it takes longer for us. This is just his idea, not my idea. I didn't think about it. So this innocent mind, whether they are old or young, can bring a lot of substantial things. That resulted, actually, he was a co-author on this paper when he was in high school on consciousness. So this can also explain the time dilation, how even Einstein talks about the time, when the speed, with the time you can dilate it. So that you can understand that idea from here. It's up to here in your mind. And when we talk about Brahma, we talk about Devas, they're all really representation of scientific understanding, if you want to really look into that. I haven't done that much more. I have published a couple of papers about zero and other things related to that. I want to do more about this. And but finally, I had to, this is science. So I have to create some kind of numbers for people to understand. So I created a consciousness measurement consciousness, and I use the kinetic theory of gases. because I had to make time and amplitude. I needed to make the time and connection with something that we feel. So we use temperature, like people do tapasya. So they use high temperature, to see how rigorous they are. So I use that by using the kinetic theory of gases, because there is a velocity which has time in it, and then there is a temperature in this. And again, I would not, if you're interested, I will be happy to talk more about it. But the point I want to make is that I made whatever normally people do in physics and chemistry. I made all those assumptions and eventually came up with this number. An unevolved human being based totally on material basis, which is like chemistry. Chemistry is different than padartha and stuff, because there is atma and mind, everything in that. That's the difference. If you only material basis, would have a consciousness coefficient of 5.054 times 10 to the power 17. I came up with a number. It's a coefficient, is not constant. I made very sure, because constant means every one of us have to have that. Coefficient means that you can have different than I can have, but it will define you, which is, again, it just talks about a Vedic way of looking at every one of us are different in our journey of the karma and dharma. So this can be very easily used and related to consciousness. Of course, Einstein had talked about this in a publication, actually. He said, when a man sits with a pretty girl for an hour, it seems like a minute. But let him sit on a hot stove for a minute, and it is longer than any hour. He actually published this in the Journal of Exothermic Science. And what I understand, and I got it from Scientific American, but what I understand is that actually he did this experiment himself. And then only he wrote this. So many times you can do that. Here are the scientific nature of the yoga, for example. Again, I wouldn't go into details of it, but just want to give the sense of it. This was also published in Proceedings of National Academy of Science. The Dalai Lama group was involved in this. One of the things that I talked about in Dravyas is space, and also there was a time in it. That's part of the element. Now here they said that people who do meditation or yoga for number of hours, here is 15,000 hours, 30,000 hours, 45,000 hours. That means if it is like a dravya, it will affect its values. In this case, it will be the mind. What they found that there is a correlation between different gamma waves, alpha waves, and that correlation is better if you do longer. That means, again, it is affected by the Vaisesika philosophy's description of dravya. And when you affect that, you affect everything else around you. So this is the key. The concepts in Vedic literature is the key to understand modern science more holistically, more integratively. And we need to be very clear about that. Here is an example how that works in real life. People buy cars when they have only 4 features to consider, 4 aspects, then they are very conscious. Conscious means like they think and then make the calculation. That's the word here, not the consciousness I'm talking about. But then when it becomes 12 aspects, mostly it is like your gut feeling. It's like in a subtle way, you make the decision. So that means it is really practical. It works like that. You can only limited thing, you can think about, I multiply, divide, and this and that. But after, if it becomes, which is this world is, right, they're very, very complex, then that gut feeling or the consciousness inside you is the one which really makes the decision, because you have to have that sense. So consciousness in plants also. Here is an experiment that that son who was telling me about the time, is the one who did this experiment. We said that, not only humans have, plants also have consciousness. He did this experiment in which he put a green chili in the middle and the green chili outside. And then another one, he put red chili, and he just waited 3 days. You can see here the other one also becoming red. He also is becoming red, not here. That means you can recognize what's going on. Maybe some of these experiences may be helpful to my children. And I think we should bring this kind of idea to even first grade children, because he was very young. I think he was like 8th grader at that time, but he wanted to do some science experiment, and I told him to do this. And so you can imagine that he now understands the nature is so important, very important, because it has the same feeling that we have. I did Kriya Yoga, and I introduced this idea to my students that they had to feel and they had to do the calculation, they had to come up with the numbers. And I did some calculations about, what is permutation combinations. And there are, even in this, this 5 times 5, 6 times 5 that I had this matrix here, it's like you have a 3 here, and you have 5 here, and then you have the 5 positions, then you have to write its lowest 1 to 5. So it's 5 times 5 times 6 matrix. When we did this, sorry, there are over 9.31 times 10 to the power 20-fold ways that you can explain that. And what I found, that no student was ever able to repeat their matrix. Never, ever. I gave them for the whole semester, and they didn't know what I was trying to do. They just, one of the purposes was I want them to really practice as well. So that, if they're paying attention, they have to write right number, they will do practice well. And so the matrix were totally different for different individuals. About 1,000 such responses I have in my collection. No pattern in the matrices based on gender or age or previous practice observed. No reproduction of matrix even for the same individual. Never repeated. The matrix is different. They didn't know that I'm doing this study. So they were unfamiliar. They were just writing whatever they needed to write. So this matrix was so individual at the moment, not at the individual level. And that's why we cannot have constant. We have to have individual variation. And that is practiced in Ayurveda, by the way. This is same thing is true actually in the physical beings. Nobody's two people cannot have the same fingerprint or the DNA, or even the firearms, which is like the gun. No two guns are the same. That's how they are able to identify. Actually, I did some study on here, automatic identification of human walk. I'm very poor. Professor Prabhakar, please let me know how much time I have. You are muted.
Another 15 minutes, man. So
Okay.
interesting.
Okay, very good. So thank you. I'm very bad at remembering people's faces. And certainly face I can remember, but I don't remember what they were wearing. Once my daughter, who said that, it will fit in when you grow up, she was lost in Washington, D.C. on 4th of July. And I went to the police and he said, what is he wearing? And I said, I don't know. He was so mad at me. I just didn't pay attention to but I can pay attention to somebody's walk. I have no idea how that feature has come. So what I'm saying is that everybody is different. Individuals are all very different. Now, how this all knowledge comes, fundamental knowledge comes from this meditation that I was talking about. And then you can create science from that, not from forcing people to say, oh no, this is objective. I can be objectively very biased. There are a lot of studies done in science, objectively very biased, and they're wrong. But they get, for momentary, they get very prestige, including my prediction, and it's being recorded, right? It's being recorded. So it will be in the record. This artificial intelligence this time got 2 Nobel Prize. Physics and chemistry both got Nobel Prize from the artificial intelligence. This artificial intelligence someday will go down the drain, because you can never understand moment to moment thing that changes. Nobody can predict that, because it's just up to you. Your karma, the journey is what really going to do. So people are going to just force you that you are this, but you are not that. So anyway, the science should be from this knowledge, and that we need to create. And then the material manifestations should come out of that, which is like Ayurveda and yoga and those kind of practices. And one of the evidence is that there is about 1,500-year-old this pillar in Delhi. It has not rusted. There is no such technology as yet, but things will not be rusted. So we have this is the creation of here, because you want to create things, you can create that kind of thing with understanding. I'm going to talk about a little bit, where we go into this. Is the origin of species, actually is what Darwin wrote. People call it evolution. And theory is random. Nothing happens random, not from the point of view of Vedas. Everything has value, the region it is done. Adaptation to nature, which is true. It's a slow process. You have to be with the nature. Survival of the body and gene pool is what is really considered, which is all very selfish. Survival of the body, my body should survive. If everybody else gets killed, okay. My gene, I should have more kids. So Osama bin Laden had 24 kids. And Dalai Lama has no kid. Who is more evolved? According to this theory, Osama bin Laden is more evolved, not Dalai Lama, because he has gene pool is maintained. So what is evolutionary advantage of selfless? Then what is why are some people being so selfless? What is the advantage of that? So you have to find that kind of things. No, this is just mechanism by which I want, because I have 15 minutes, I want to get to some conclusions here. So, and we are very happy. We have written a book on this, on the evolutionary advantage of toxins. For example, I work with toxins. So body differentiation, cell, tissue, organs, brain, all these kind of things they come up with. I'm just going to show you data here. What is human beings who are biased, who want their body to be preserved, their ego to be preserved, what they do. So they wanted to create a science out of it. So they said, well, the brain is really, the brain size is the key. So then says it, okay, they put animals on dividing them based on the size of their brain. It turned out that elephant has bigger brain. So they were not very happy, obviously, because they were not on the top. So then they said, okay, the elephant is too big. Let's just take brain weight and then divide by the body weight. Well, elephant came at the end on the lower side, but the one at the top is still not a human being. It is a shrew, which is, I don't know in English what they call in India. It's like a mouse. Is they call it, in Hindi it's called chachundar. It's the shrew is like chachundar. Now chachundar is better than human beings. They were not very happy again. So they came up with another idea. Brain weight divided by the body weight to the power of 0.69. And now look, they are the top. This is how the science is created in modern times. And so we are not, when it's Vedic thing, you are not biased. Here is a clear bias here. So I'm just going to skip, the one point here is that this came out, I mean, this is all mechanism by which many things happen. But here is that actually in Nature is a magazine, they said that running barefoot or in minimal shoes is fun, but uses different muscles. So when we are technology oriented and living everything with technology, we are not evolving. We are evolving only with nature. You can evolve with only, if you run barefoot, you do much better. If you have been a heel striker all your life, you have to transition slowly to build strength in your calf and foot muscles. So very important that you walk barefoot. This is again, the plants have their own route. Plants have evolved parallelly, not like one after the other. Plants have their own evolution. That's why they're used so much in the Ayurveda and other things. Human beings have come here, but plants have their own origin and things. Are plants more evolved? Quite likely that they're more evolved. And that's why we do puja of plants. We do all the oblations and everything with the plants, and we appreciate that. Now, even little organisms know how to control us. It's like they have found a study that a bug gets into your ear and then it makes you scratch on your body. Then it deposits its egg there. So it's like they control you. I mean, our whole body is controlled by what they known as gut microbiome. In Ayurveda, they call it Jataragni. And that controls our brain. So the little organisms, they're more evolved. We are just a house for them. So this just shows that, if you use, oh, yeah, I use here botulinum toxin also. I'm just going to skip some of these and then tell you some of the practices that we do, how scientific they are, how chemically scientific they are. So Brahma Muhurte ya Nidra sa Punyakshaya Kari Neem. Means that, somebody who sleeps in the time of Brahma Muhurt destroys all the virtues. Very interesting. How is that? Some people nowadays, they tell me that, students included, luckily my kids don't do that, not actually that much. Maybe some sanskara they got. They say, sir, but I was up until 2 o'clock. So they couldn't get up in the morning. So I said, those who work in the night time, what are they known as? Nisacharas, those who do nisacharas. And those who do not get up before sunrise, if you get up, you are a human. Somebody told me this definition. Those who get up in the Brahm Muhurta, they are devas. Those who get up before sunrise, at least, they are the humans, mano. And those who get up after sunrise, they are rakshasas. So now rakshasas match with the nisacharas. Perfect matching. So if you work late in the night, you are nisachar. When you get up late in the morning, then you are rakshas. Now we know exactly why nisacharas are known as rakshas and why they work in the night. So, but what important thing here in chemistry is this. You see, everything is very symmetrical. The growth hormones go down in the night. And, sorry, in the day. Growth hormones go down in the day. The potassium, which is very important for the brain operation, it goes up. Body temperature also goes up, and it remains there. This remains the whole day like that. Then again, it goes down in the night. And the growth hormone goes down, but it goes up. So there is a symmetry. What happens in the morning versus the whole day, and then evening it goes to something. And there's connection with sunrise and the rays that come. I've written an article on this, actually, should be coming out soon. On what is the moonlight, what is the sunlight, and how it affects when the sun angle comes, the kind of light it comes, that your pigments absorb those, and then they develop all the chemistry. So that aside, why they are having this chemical variation in this is related to two things. One is the sunlight in the morning and the evening, and second is moonlight that affects our biology. So, but there is one thing that is different here, which is asymmetric. It's called plasma cortisol. It's kind of hormone. It is a hormone that keeps you like awake. It like gets you chetana in you. And it's very interesting. It starts going up around 2 a.m. and it's maximum at 6 a.m. And then it goes down as the day passes. So if you didn't get up in the Brahma Muhurta at 4 o'clock, you are not ready to take full advantage of it. And that's the chemical reason why people have to get up in the morning and do this. And this is very important. So I think I will stop it here. Oh yeah, this is related to that. What they found, actually, they did a study in America. They found those who get up in the morning, they get better grades. Their GPAs are better. So they even have the evidence, but still nisacharas are nisacharas. They will always just justify. So that they have to work in the night and then this. So I will stop here, and if there are any questions, we will go over them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We learn a lot. So much is chemistry. So, of course, or Raghava is there too, because he's a biologist also, and he's a scientist, therefore, and about the plant life and the biology and all that. So anyway, sir, you have given us plenty of knowledge to pursue it in number of directions. But chemistry is not simply going by name, but has got full content and reference to life. Actually, when you talked about a girl sitting with a boy and a sister sitting with a boy, you can see the difference. So that's beautiful. And again, so many points are there. Thank you very much for your enlightening, delightful, interesting talk. And we have no comments myself. Now I'll ask Dr. Raghava to make some comments because he's all in all. Please.
Sri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Professor Balaram Singh brought out excellent points, and from basic of Einstein and others, and without chemistry, there is no life. Life is only with chemistry. he brought out excellent those points of human life connected to chemistry, both from the Vedic time to the modern age of this today. And such, for example, as he rightly said 2 times, I think he said that it is the artificial intelligence that got the Nobel Prize. Two people have got the Nobel Prize, and the basic research that is absolutely, he is also continuing that kind of research in his laboratory, he said. And the basic research which is connected to chemistry, and he showed the logarithmic table and all that, and consciousness, Ayurveda, yoga, evolution of living organisms from small organisms to highly evolved mammals, and little and small organisms, and how they are evolved. They, for example, we always see in India is that how to kill the mosquitoes, and we do a lot of things for at home, but somehow they organize themselves and come and bite us, and in a very different way, and we get a lot of diseases because of due to that. And also he pointed out on how the sleep habit, that is one of the best things what I liked in this presentation too, is that Brahma Muhurta, and why parents used to tell that you have to study in the Brahma Muhurta, that is at 3:30, 4 o'clock, like that, up to 6 o'clock. That 2 hours grasping power, he proved it in his graph of that presentation, and which for the modern students, this kind of teaching is absolutely important. And what the Vedic period has told us, Vedas told us, and Upanishads told us, he proved it, Professor Balaram Singh proved it in that graph, which is very important. I may request him to share that slide with me, and because so that it will be used while teaching several children, and at grades, at different grades of their education. So certainly, and it is one of the best presentations, and he brought out the proceedings of nature and proceedings of National Academy of Sciences, USA, 2 papers, 2 scientific papers. It is one of the best journals in the world, and also, of course, Nature paper he brought out, and ultimately the evolution theory of Darwin is very, very important. Even now, that is very important, and the mutations that are being happening in the DNA and other things, and plants are the highly evolved things, and among the plants, grasses are highly evolved, and which he brought out very nicely. And I like he prepared wonderful slides, and for his theory of that chemistry, what he wants to brought out. And one of the things that he brought out, though he has not spelled out those mantras, Ashma cha me, Murtika cha me, Girayas cha me, Parvatas cha me, Sikatas cha me, Vanaspatas cha me, Hiranyan cha me, Yas cha me, Sisan cha me, Trapus cha me, Shaman cha me, Lohan cha me, Gnis cha ma, Apas cha me, Virudas cha ma, Oshadayas cha me, Krishtapatyan cha me, Gramyas cha me. These kind of things that are told in the Sri Rudram of the Yajurveda clearly states that gold, silver, copper, tin, lead, and iron are known to the Vedic people during that Vedic period. These materials were of use in society, and agriculture used the plant products, and their growth necessitated the use of these metals. So he certainly brought out wonderful examples of at every stage from the beginning till the end of 1 hour talk. He brought out excellent examples which I personally really liked it. Thank you so much, Professor Balaram Singh ji. So it was a great presentation and we enjoyed. Namaskara.
Thank you. Thank you. Namaskar.
Aparna is there. She can give some.
जी नमस्ते सर, नमस्ते सभी को. I have one observation or maybe a question to make. Sir, you talk about Brahm Muhurat and its relevance for the students especially, and I have
including Aparna.
Yeah, my childhood time and my study time before till PhD was a Brahm Muhurat time, but after that my habits got bad, and I start waking up at 7:30 or maybe sometime late, but not in the Brahm Muhurat. But when I talk to some science students or the engineers, they always say that हमारी तो पढ़ाई रात को ही शुरू होती है, because my father and my brother are also engineers, so I've seen because of my background from the literature and my mother also, we try to have completed our studies within the time limit of the sunrise till sunset. After sunset, my tube light is also gone out. I can't study, even I can't work. That was my habit for quite a long time, even maybe before joining to you, last 10 years, you can say. But they only work at the night only. So at that time, how can you relate it with the science thing, the chemistry you are saying about the brain? And the other question is that you were telling about a lot of things like Atma. I may have missed some of the points due to some word, but you have told about the organisms or the Atma thing. Is there anything related to the Man? You have
Mind,
talked
right?
about consciousness also.
Mind. Your voice has
Mind.
gone. I
Mind.
think you mean mind, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mind and the chemistry, their relation.
I taught the whole course called Chemistry of the Mind. So the mind is, the most of the time people study brain and not they think that mind is created, but the point is that mind is, according to philosophy, in Vedic philosophy, mind is a creation of consciousness. This is like a precipitation of consciousness. It appears in the mind. On one hand, if you are Atma, you talked about that Atma thing, and this is also part of Dravya in Vaisesik philosophy. So if you are at the Atma level and the Atma is governing you, then your mind is going to be doing all the great things. But there is a reverse, which if your mind is affected chemically, so like I said, cortisol and many other hormones are there because they are secreted in our body. And if you're bringing from your sense, karmendriya, gyanendriya, if they are affecting your mind, then your mind is chanchal, or it's like everywhere. So your mind is not stable. It doesn't get the stability. That's why people do this dhyan, yoga, so that they can get to this Atma level, Swa level. Just they know themselves. Themselves means at the level of Atma. I think we had some classes about science of Kriya Yoga, but you also attended. So that the Sankhya Yoga concept has to be realized through yoga only, because you have to be completely tatast, detached person to observe yourself, and sometimes in trouble. So once you have gotten that, then mind is very constructive. It comes up with ideas to communicate with people and deal with all kind of situations. But if you're like affected by your karmendriya, gyanendriya, not from the top, but from the bottom, then you get stressed out. You don't like something, you like something, because all kind of things happen. But this is also ultimately okay, because ultimately you just see the consequence. Oh, I don't like this, even though I don't like. Then eventually maybe we'll ask a question like that. Maybe you have negative evolution since you went to school, because you were saying that your family followed very different kind of rules, but now you follow different because maybe you're affected by your karmendriya and gyanendriya. You're too gyani. You become too much gyani. That we think that, oh no, I'm educated, I have PhD, I have this and I have that. And then they say, well, who can tell me? This is all nonsense. But only you can tell yourself. If you can get to yourself, which is the Atma level. And that's the only way you can do is by meditation. Or I tell this, either you are going to be carved, मतलब हिंदी में बोलते हैं कि या तो ठोकर खाओगे या तो कोई आपको निखारेगा. Like Guru can tell you things to do, and if you do it, practically don't follow Guru's opinion like that, that just because somebody said that, I'm just going to believe that. No, practice it. That's the practical thing about Vedas. Anybody tells you anything, you can practice it. Because nobody's saying, I mean, you know that my view about Bhagwan Krishna is everybody says Bhagwan Krishna will be happy and all your problems will go away. No, Bhagwan Krishna in you, he becomes happy, then your problem goes away. So that means you are still responsible. So even if Vedic people, Sanskrit particularly people they just recite something. I mean, like Professor Buddhavalli very nicely recited. I wish I can recite some, but not that one for sure. And very, rhythmic. Rhythm is part of our brain. Believe it or not, I just learned yesterday. I visited Darshan Mehta, who is a professor in Harvard, but for something. And he was telling now they have come up with a ear pod. Those people who have problem with sinuses, sleeping, the music that they play fixes it. So what I'm saying is that by having your Gyanendriya, Karmendriya regulated, it fixes your problem. So maybe someday we will fix, like when he just said, he recited the mantra, it has an effect on your brain. So at least you can do that because you're a Sanskrit person. You can do yoga. You can create a better understanding of doing whatever little thing, cooking. You came here at my place and you had some ghee in a katori, right? It's still sitting there. I don't eat ghee. But anyway, though, I'm just referring to that in terms of that you can make it. Cooking is a very good creation because cooking is creation that as a chemist, I sometimes know 10 years later the value of what I did. But in case of cooking, it's a chemistry. And you know that in 2 hours. After that, you eat that, oh, a terrible cooking I did. Or, what a wonderful thing you were able to do. So that's all that is part of learning. And then talking about those people who, whether they're scientists or whoever that is, they work in the night. It's your circadian rhythm is responsible for your body physiology. You can't defy that. That's affected by the moon and sun. And your body that was created by those conditions, no matter what you do. That's why I'm saying artificial intelligence record it. Maybe 10 years, they will find that this is all garbage. I think I showed you that I wrote, those of you other people don't know, I wrote in the group. I wrote yesterday actually, Professor Darshan Mehta in Harvard. I just wanted, because he was talking about all these artificial intelligence. So I wrote in that one, in Chat GPT, who are the 4 best students of Professor Balaram Singh. It gave me in like 20 seconds, not even 20 seconds, too much, maybe 5 seconds. It gave me the 4 names. None of them were my ever students. So it can give you the answers that you're looking for easily, but that's not correct one. The same thing is artificial. I mean, I'm writing an article and I'm having my students, Ayurveda chemistry students, work on it. I know the science, how they do it. They do crystal structures. I'm talking about the chemistry guy got the 2 Nobel Prize, not 2 people. Physics Nobel Prize and Chemistry Nobel Prize went to artificial intelligence this time. The physics has its own thing, and I won't talk about that here, but I'm just going to talk about, because I presented something about toxin. I know what protein folding is. I know what crystal structures are. They have 200 million structures, and they made that a base. And then now they can predict, like they made base for a girl of whatever your age is and living in Delhi, and that she should be doing this, she should be getting at 7:30. They might give you that idea, because that's really based on other people, not what you just told your father, your brother, whatever that is yours, you're doing. Maybe they will use your fathers and brothers and they will say, Aparna really gets at 3:59 a.m. And you will say, oh, I'm very happy, but actually you're getting at 7:30. So I just said this and it doesn't work. So I know in my protein, I have written a paper published in Nature actually in 1994. The crystal structure is not representation of solution structure, because solution is very different. It's Ayurvedic thing that I was talking about. All the padarthas are affected by everything else around. So you can't, crystal is created in certain conditions, not in active condition. This is one of the major contributions of my group, research group, in this field on botulinum toxin. That's why some people even give us some credit for that kind of stuff. So I know that it will fail. I'm 100% convinced, because your human beings always change. Pratikshana, pal, you are changing. Every moment you are changing. That's why Ayurveda does not treat you in the morning the same as in the evening. That's Ayurveda is really the Vedic knowledge. We just have not done it. Our problem is, Aparna, you, me, or anybody else is listening or who not listening, we have not practiced it. If we can practice it, there is no way in this world people will not accept it. We need to practice it. And that is, it's going to be tough. It's not easy to practice these things. Becoming Bhagwan is not easy. Becoming Iswara is not easy. But it says in our text, our sastras, that you can be Iswar. If you can get rid of what is that klesa karma vipaka asaya apara mrista purus bisesa Iswara. It's in Patanjali Yoga Sutra. It's practical stuff. But we are not doing it because we are so much mesmerized with the knowledge outside us.
Beautiful. So thank you very much. And in fact, you are just showing us anxiety, curiosity to have more and more openings scientifically for our Vedic mantras. And just
Absolutely.
Raghava said about this, the metals, not only metals, and many things are being listed, even the grains also. See, 11 kinds of grains were available at that time. They're all symbolic again. And there could be, so we can imagine the Vedic times, the Rishis are knowing. But those Sanskrit Vedic terms, our Balaram Singh ji is trying to put into our modern English vocabulary and scientific vocabulary. See that there is a kind of equation, Atma and all these things. In fact, we only study one side. But professors like Balaram Singh and others who come to our multidisciplinary society or learning of knowledge, it will be really wonderful vista and also opening new horizons of knowledge to us. When we see Bengaluru airport, our idea is different. But when we see the New York airport, for the first time I saw New York airport 1993, I could not imagine. So the entire airport was carpeted. There's no carpet in Bengaluru airport at that time. We used to walk even up to aircraft and so on. But you see, imagine that kind of elongation and development and all that. And moreover, you are also interested, we are all in science, we are interested in the measurements and the effect of the toxins. And body weight includes all weights also, brain weight, bone weight, and liver weight, etc. So the body maintenance is most important according to you. So if you want to split the weight individually of the parts, well, that's a different big study, chemistry, physics, and all subjects come. Beautiful, sir. We are very much indebted for this kind of light and fresh light thrown into the field of our Nadaveda Adhyayana Kendra students and others, and waves also. In fact, when Dr. Bhudev Sharma, I think when he started, he was telling World Association for Vedic Studies, a multidisciplinary society. So multidisciplines, we also want to bring in our Nada and Veda, in music, and Veda is knowledge. So there is a good correlation between them, and very happy. And now we have got Dr. Anjaneya Prasad, who is also a PhD and working in science way and measurements of internet, was also his subject when he was, because I don't know anything, he was mentioning as the children are our gurus. As Balaram Singh constantly tells, we learn from them.
That was proved by Professor Balaram Singh ji.
Yeah. And
Children are our gurus.
Because, in fact, I was wondering, my Anjaneya Prasad telling, when he was a small boy, I made him sit on the wall. Then immediately he looked up and said, who made Surya sit in the sky? Then I told his mother. Then immediately said, did you not cry to put him down on the ground? So like that, the imagination goes like that, and they're all constantly. Secondly, my grandson was a small boy. When his mother told, no, it is getting dark, sun is not there, night. And then the boy said, no, Mummy, see, my Surya is going to India. to wake up our grandparents so that they can do puja and all that. So the sun is going to east again, from west to east and east to. So these are all the very fantastic ideas which our rishis had, but we are all having the rishi buddhis in our way. See, that's why Arsha Vidya Peetham we have got, because rishi culture, rishi knowledge. Therefore, so and moreover, Balaram Singh ji has given consolation. Man is style. Everybody is individualistic. But still, there are some common rules and common behavior that will improve the personality features and all that. Very happy. I don't want much, and I want Anjaneya Prasad to put forth his ideas because he has got large number of students in the University of Missouri and working on the artificial intelligence and also the cloud computing and all this. So I just like to invite him to speak something, comments, and then before a vote of thanks.
Thank you. And as I just want to give a vote of thanks and especially thank Professor Balaram Singh to have spent his valuable time and expertise. I met him at the Hindu University Waves conference and was very inspired by how he has motivated so many young students to start thinking about our Sanatana Dharma and inspiring them and preparing them and giving them opportunity and platforms. So I really appreciate his leadership on those aspects. And today I really enjoyed the talk. Again, my knowledge of chemistry is also like pre-university, but I was very fascinated by how you connected the mindfulness or the spiritual aspect is really ultimately it's chemistry. And if we can control that chemistry, how we can adopt the Sanatana Dharma in our daily life. And you touched, like Dr. Vodupalli was saying, a wide variety of topics from biology, psychology, metallurgy. It is fascinating how you were able to connect it back to the Vedic scripture. So it's truly, as the title said, it is Vedas, having chemistry within, and again Veda for chemistry, and what we are able to do and achieve is by the guidance of the Veda. So thank you so much for the talk today, and hope we can come back. And I saw that you're very busy, so many talks, so many places, so we can share other perspectives also in another forum here. We really enjoyed your talk today. Thank you so much. And I would like to also thank Shivalingaya for the invocation, and he will also do the Shanti Mantram. And thank you so much, Dr. Bodupalli Raghava Garu, for again very nicely summarizing and highlighting the key points of the talk and giving your additional remarks, and Dr. Aparna Dheer also for those wonderful extensions of the question and discussion. Thank you all. And so with that, I'll ask Shivalingaya, please.
Before that, I just want to ask Dr. Balaram Singh ji. Of course, he is coming and giving a talk for a long time next month, also December, for our annual day celebrations, a keynote. And we would like to listen to him linking physics also with Veda, because it's a drawing room where people will have wonderful sofa, TV set, and all adjustments. Because physics, and even Lord Krishna also, having talked about so many yogas in Bhagavad Gita, he has gone to kitchen and also food there in 17th chapter. Because all yoga, meditation, and work and activity, Chaitanyam, depends upon the kitchen. So he has also, that's why you see Krishna is all round. And after all, Krishna is Balaram's brother. So now Balaram is there. I wish he just gives us also knowledge about the physics and of course biology and all, because many mantras are there. For example, Yama, there is a prayer to Yama to bless people, just as a leaf when completely losing cellulose or power drops down from the branch of the tree by itself. So too a man has got to get out from this body naturally without any trouble. So parna. So like that we have taken a lot of examples from nature. Nature is very well reflected. So thank you, sir. We can keep on talking, but of course Actually, I saw that Balaram Singh ji was busy up to half an hour before this time to India time, 4 to 6:30 or something like that. Again, he is a soldier, active to meet up another section of the scholarship. And in fact, that is how the vigor and energy and enthusiasm and divine grace, and unless he is a yogin, he cannot accept all this type of assignments. People are on demand to him, but still he is able to oblige because he is interested to spread knowledge and inspire people and see that more and more vistas of knowledge are made available to the table, to the desk of each and all. In fact, Aparna ji also is telling, oh, since 10 years my lifestyle style, because she is in India and the work will be in America. So she will not take up any phone call until it is 10:30 or 11 o'clock in the night, because daytime. So if at all we call her in between time, sir, I will do it, I will call you back after 10:30 or something like that. So the styles have got to be changed when we are moving, because of course time. So Balaram Singh ji, we are very much happy and we invoke the blessings of Goddess Saraswati upon you, that you will be a wonderful star, contributing and distributing and inspiring all people. Thank you very much. No, Sivalingaya.
Thank you. Grateful.
Sivalingaya.
Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah. Sarve santu niramaya. Sarve bhadrani pashyant. Ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Sarvam Shri Krishnarpanamastha. Shri Vasudevarpanamastha. Shri Veda Purusha Ashirvadostu. Om Shri Matru Charanaravindarpanamastha. Om Tat Sat. Harivam. Namaste. Namaste, Guruji.